Mandy, I don't do any intros on the show. We literally just get going. So thank you, firstly, for having me in your guys' home.
Sure.
I really appreciate, I'm really happy for you and Brandon also. The fact that you guys are all the way out in PMB and you managed to get something this nice.
Thanks.
I'm super stoked that my mates are doing this well. So how's the move been for you? Obviously, you stayed out in Durban and really lovely place as well. I love just the wind and how peaceful everything was there. But I see you've got like an equivalent of that because this is also very peaceful. So how has the move been for you though? Like how have you been taking it overall?
It's been interesting. I think most people move, not actually sure, but most people usually move because they want to move to a new place.
Yeah.
We were quite settled, but Brand's got a wonderful opportunity here for psychology. So we moved to Pietermaritzburg. And it is quite far away from our friends and from our band, which is difficult. But it's been lovely. And I don't understand why Pietermaritzburg gets such a bad rep because it's actually really cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many forests and it's like so close to Hilton and Howick in the Midlands and stuff. So I quite enjoy it. And on weekends we can go exploring and it's really, really rad. So,
wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, but
that's
it is
really nice.
difficult being away from friends and from family and especially like our band members. I think that's been the biggest challenge so far.
I mean, how do you deal with that though? Like, how do you sort of cope? Do you have any coping mechanism when it comes to dealing with, your mates being so far away from you?
I've had to get better at WhatsApp. I was terrible before. I never responded to messages or I would respond like 2 weeks later.
I'm so bad.
And now I'm putting more of a, effort into it. But with bands, Sons of Shem, I think we never really practiced even when we were all in the same area because, every single member in Sons of Shem is ridiculously talented. They don't actually need practice.
Ooh.
Besides me, I'm like the little, newbie to music in Sons of Shem. The rest of them are absolute, just legends in the scene. So that was pretty much the same. But for Saturn, we're all pretty much beginners in Saturn besides brands. So that's been the most difficult challenge so far. But what we've done so far is we do scratch tracks and we record separately and then put it on the WhatsApp group and kind of brainstorm there. We've had to get a lot better with our communication over a long distance, but it's been quite an interesting challenge.
Yeah. And I mean, how's obviously with Saturn now there's 2 of you guys that are left in the band. How different is it now considering that you guys, you were a 4-piece? Is there a lot more work that needs to be done now? Is there a lot less work? Are you finding it easier? What are the dynamics like now?
It has been quite a big shift because, Brands and I came into the band when songs were already written. So Karis and Britt started the band together.
Yeah.
And they had already kind of had their songs laid out and Britt had written all the lyrics and the vocals and everything was kind of done and we just came in and I added lead and Brands added drums. So now it's kind of like we have this fresh slate where Brands and I are quite excited because we get to write from scratch with Karis. Obviously we loved being in the band with Britt and it was quite a sad thing when she left, but we've kind of seen it as a new fresh start and it's always exciting to have a fresh slate and a new canvas that's blank and you can do whatever you want on it, so it's been quite cool.
How are you guys making sure that, it's still sort of, you still have that signature Saturn Return sound? I know that you are now on the vocals.
Yes.
So, are you still, is it a matter of, are the vocals going to sound completely different? Are you maybe going to utilize some of, your old vocalist sort of styles that she used? How do you keep it as Saturn Return and give us that sound that we've become so used to now, without, a fourth member?
It is a difficult one. And I think it's important for people that love Saturn Return to know that it's not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And we've kind of come to terms with that. But we are trying to keep a lot of the elements the same and it is going to be quite similar because Brands is still on drums, I'm still on lead, Karis is still on rhythm. There is going to still be that style that's underlying all of it, but we are changing it up quite a lot to suit my vocals because, Britt had that very low kind of sassy, in your face kind of way about her. And I'm more cutesy and I have a higher voice and it doesn't exactly suit the style. But we're seeing that as a way of growth and into a new kind of direction, just a little bit. We're still going to keep the sass as much as we can.
Yeah.
And especially like the new songs we've already written, they've got quite a lot of that, you know, sassy Saturn Return energy. It's just going to be slightly different with a different vocalist, obviously. And then on bass as well, obviously there'll be quite a shift without Brit. But I think it'll have the essence that people loved about it still.
Yeah.
You know, the feminism, the sass about it, the power. We're still trying to bring all of those elements that we loved so much about Saturn.
Yeah. And how are you sort of, okay, firstly, before we get to how you sort of, you know, practice when it comes to vocals and how you get ready, you know, to pull that sort of thing off, why did Brit leave? I mean, for anyone who might have missed it, we know already because we were in the loop, but why is it exactly, like, why did she leave and how did you guys sort of take it?
I can't really give the full story because it is Brit's story and I don't want to like interject and like speak where I'm not, you know, it's not my story to speak, but I'll just say that it didn't really align with Brit's, you know, way of life and like what she wanted in her life. Like the music scene was just not aligning with her, you know, her potential as a human being, you know. And when she came to us and said the things that she said, we were obviously like really sad. Like we're a little family as a band and like our gigs and stuff were always so much fun because the four of us just got along so well. But we've always been, you know, family first from the beginning. We said we're friends and band comes second. And that's why we saw it as like 100% will support Brit because it was what was best for her and what was best for her life journey. So it was sad, but also, you know, good for Brit. So
100%. And obviously now looking at you, you are obviously the main focus here, and vocally, I'm used to you more as like a guitarist and obviously with some of the backing vocals and such. How long did it take you to adjust to being, you know, to being the one at the forefront, you know, and singing and such? Was it very daunting also? Was it a daunting transition, you know, being the main, or was it very like simple?
It is daunting. I think it's always going to be daunting, and especially because I'm taking over from someone who's known to be so powerful and such a presence, you know. So it is a daunting challenge. But I've been kind of obviously not in Saturn. I never expected this outcome, but I've been wanting to step up in front for a long time. And that was happening a little bit in Shems as well, where, you know, Brands was kind of letting me front some songs, especially songs that needed like the female perspective. And I was already doing that here and there in Shems. So it kind of felt like a natural progression. It wasn't like this terrible shock, you know, with me stepping up to frontwoman, but it is daunting a little bit.
I can imagine. I mean, I mentioned the guitar there, like that's how I first knew you, obviously. And just basically, where did this whole thing start? Where did this love for music and making music start for you? Like, give us a bit of insight. Like, when did you play your first instrument? When did you discover that you can actually sing? Take me to the very beginning.
Sure. So I guess I played guitar when I was really young, but just like the open chords, you know, kind of my father is a guitarist, and he kind of taught me and bought my first guitar for me. But I never actually loved guitar as a kid, and even as a teenager, I was like, it's such a boring instrument. Everybody plays guitar, you know. So I left the guitar and I went onto ukulele quite a lot when I was a teenager, and that was where I found my love for like songwriting and singing and playing. But I loved singing as a kid. I would be the kid that was constantly singing, you know. So I always knew as a kid I wanted to be a singer when I grew up. So it's quite cool that I'm like living the childhood dream, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, and then it went from ukulele onto bass, and that's when I kind of stepped into the music scene and started joining bands. And I was a bassist for quite a while before I stepped up to guitar. And it kind of was, I was playing bass for a long time, and I needed extra strings. I needed an extra way to express myself. And then that's when I realized, okay, maybe guitar is the right instrument for me. And when I started playing it again in my 20s, I was like, wow, okay, this is the one, you know, like I've been, you know, having a block against it for such a long time. And now when I've gone back to it, I've like refound my love for guitar and haven't really stopped since. Yeah.
Were your parents very supportive of you making music? I mean, your dad was a guitarist, so I'm sure he was over the moon when you found out that you continued making music and such.
Yeah, they were always really supportive. I think they always knew that I was a creative kid, you know, and even as a teenager and as a young person, I've always been really creative. So it wasn't really a shock to them. They were like, oh yeah, that's pretty much Mandy, like always doing creative things, expressing myself and stuff like that. So they were always really supportive.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at you as an individual as well, I feel like you're one of the people who, like, social media is such a complicated thing, because as a musician, or basically musicians in general, you'll find that it's no longer about just the process of making music. You find that people now have to run their own social media pages, and that's a whole job on its own. But I feel like one of the people that's doing such an exceptional job with their social media is you. Like, some of the stuff that you really post is very engaging, because you ask some really, like, you know, some questions that wouldn't generally be asked, and you always want to get this perspective, you know, and get people commenting and such, you know. So when we're looking at your social media, maybe your Instagram and such, how much actually goes into that? Is that something that you just curate just, you know, out of nowhere? Is it something that takes, you know, a bit of time? Do you think before you post the stuff? Like, what's, you know, take me behind the scenes of like your Instagram and your social media.
I think I'm quite privileged in the sense is that I am in marketing as a job, and that was my passion kind of before I got into bands. I've studied at Vega, and I've always been in the marketing game, so I think I've got an advantage there, which is really cool. It's like my other passion besides music is, you know, marketing and social media, which just works so well together, which is really like lovely. It's interesting for the band stuff. I definitely put a lot of thought into it. I plan out and I do content schedules, and I, you know, plan in advance.
Is that deep?
yeah. I like to get organized when it comes to, like, I see bands kind of in the sense of business, you know, got to make sure that you plan and you manage things correctly. But with my own personal one, it's very on the whim. Like, if I'm feeling something, I want to be able to, you know, I feel like social media sometimes is so disconnected. We say the things that we hope people will like, and we kind of like try to follow what everyone else is doing. So I try with my social media as much as I can to you know, be as organic and authentic as possible with my own private one. And so it has to be on the whim to be authentic. It can't be like a scheduled out thing. So it's just however I'm feeling, and if I feel like speaking about something or getting other people's perspectives, I'll post about it. The videos and stuff, though, like that, I plan out a little bit more, obviously. But the posts and that kind of thing, it's just on the whim, I suppose.
You know what's crazy though is that when you look at some of the posts where you're playing something, you know, and you singing and such, they are very, I always feel like you can feel and see the emotion.
Oh, thanks.
Like, and I feel like it takes something really special to be that vulnerable. You almost get a sense of vulnerability, you know, because of that emotion that you're getting. Like, you literally putting yourself out there. And I feel like that is something that is very difficult to pull off, because of, you know, that perception of so many people are going to be seeing this, and they're going to be seeing me vulnerable like that. So how do you get yourself to a point where you're comfortable enough to show people that vulnerable side of you, that side of you that's just like, I'm singing and I'm putting my heart and soul into it, and this is me. I'm not going to filter it in any way.
It's interesting because in real life and with my friends and family, I really struggle to be vulnerable. And I really struggle to say that, you know, how I'm feeling and express myself in that way. But I guess I've always kind of been really, I don't know, able to express myself on camera and on social media. Like, I started a YouTube channel when I was really young. And I think I've always been like that. I don't really know like the answer to it or why or how I could get there. It just feels more accessible for me to be vulnerable to many people versus one, which is very odd. I think.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it just shows that you were just born to do this, you know, because I mean, you went to Vega. Does that have any impact on the music making side of things? Because I know you said graphic design and such, and obviously I guess in a way it would have an impact on obviously the stuff that you're putting up on the band's social media and such. But, you know, do you find any relation between graphic design and actually making music?
I guess so. A lot of the principles we learned, you know, in marketing and at Vega, I apply, I think, to music, you know, thinking outside the box and all that kind of thing. And especially for I really struggle with lyric writing, and I've never really had to do it for bands before until now. With the new Saturn, I'm trying to like challenge myself, and I'm very grateful that I have, you know, Karis and Brands, who are just amazing lyric writers. They really are. Like Karis writes poetry for fun, and Brands, we all know, is ridiculously good at songwriting. So they help me a lot. But I think with lyric writing, I pull on my, you know, creative background and my degree a lot, because it's really difficult, and without understanding how metaphors work and, you know, the different tricks you can use in copywriting and stuff, I don't think I'd be as confident to do it right now without it. So it did help me a lot.
That's very brilliant. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but to anyone who even knows of the existence of Thorns, I don't want to talk about Thorns of Ivory because it's very synonymous with sludge, but a lot of people will know this, but you actually got us in touch with Gary, who also went to Vega. What is your relationship with our bassist? You know, how did you guys actually meet, and why did you think of him? Like during that transition with Thorns, like why was he the first guy that you were like, Gary will be perfect for this? Why him?
I haven't met anybody that doesn't like Gary, to be honest.
True, that's so true.
And I also just knew what a great band the Thorns was, and Gary's really talented. But Gary and I go way back, actually. We knew each other in high school. He was part of my friend group, I think from like grade 9. He was dating a girl that was one of my close friends. And
what was he like in high school? Sorry to interrupt there. What was he like?
Getting the tea here.
I need to get all the tea.
He's pretty much the same, actually. He hasn't changed. He's always just been Gary, you know, like very easy to talk to, just a fun dude, and, you know, so relatable, and he's always been like that. So pretty much the same, I would say.
Okay, so you was dating your friend, and then...
Yes, so then we played... The first like musicians I ever played with actually was Gary and my brother and Gary's brother Craig, so it was like two siblings in a band.
Shout out Craig.
Okay, Craig is a great drummer as well.
What?
Did you not know that?
No. I know that that's his kit that we used to practice on at his place, but I don't know he was a drummer. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. What?
So the first time I ever played with musicians was that little like thing, and we practiced in the garage that you guys practice in now, the ones at Gary's garage. And we just played covers and had fun, and that sort of really got me into like playing bass with others, and I was like, wow, I can actually do this, you know. Gary played guitar, he was being nice to me, he wanted to play bass, but he was like, it's fine, you know, Gary being himself, the gentleman that he is. And then I knew how good of a bassist he was, and I think it just made sense. Like I also saw your personalities, and just knew that you guys would love them, you know. So that's really cool.
It's really amazing. Gary is one of the most amazing people, and we obviously have you to thank for introducing him to us as well. So it's just nice getting all this background and the history and how far you guys go. It's really just brilliant. And obviously now looking at you, you know, you've got these projects that you're a part of, the bands and such. Is there any solo stuff that we can maybe look forward to? Do you ever plan on maybe just having like Mandy be her own thing, or is it mostly just going to be, you know, just Mandy playing within bands and such?
So I've got a lot of songs that I've written as a Mandy solo project.
Wow,
inverted commas.
I love that.
But it was in the works, and I was kind of focusing on that a lot. And then when the dynamic of Saturn shifted, I had to shift my focus a lot to rewrite, like writing songs for Saturn. And that's become my baby at the moment.
Okay.
But I think once we have more, you know, groundwork done with Saturn, I'll probably focus more on my personal stuff again, my solo stuff. But it's very different to anything that I do with bands.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of like acoustic stuff and ukulele.
Yeah.
It's quite like sad, but I suppose when I write for what I like, it is like a little bit more somber and expressive and that kind of thing.
Would you say it's more like, if I had to compare, just correct me if I'm wrong, would it be more like, I don't know if you listen to any of these artists, like a Savannah Thunder type
similar
stuff?
Savannah Thunder's ridiculously good at vocals. Like she's such an amazing vocalist, so I wouldn't compare myself to her. Get people's hopes up. But very similar, like that indie, you know, sound
Tatum
that she
Holder
has.
type stuff.
Kind of like Hayley Hendrix vibes as well. Like you know, it's more relaxed
Yes.
than the stuff I do in Shems and Saturn. And I don't think I would play it live because I don't want people to go out to a gig or a bar and be like super bummed by my sets.
I doubt it. Honestly, I feel like it's more about the feeling, that I feel like if at like a gig setting, it would be more about what it sounds like as opposed to like what is she singing about, like a vibe type thing. I feel like I'd enjoy it. Actually, have you released any of that stuff?
No, I haven't. It's very close to my heart, and I want it to be like good by the time I, decide to release it. And some of it I probably won't, and I'll keep it as like a personal, thing.
You don't think it's good at the moment?
Well, it's not finished, I haven't like properly decided to finish it. And I don't like mixing and mastering stuff by myself. I'm not very good at it. So I would probably send it off to someone to get like mixed and mastered and stuff. So yeah.
Sheesh. I was actually going to ask if we could play one of those songs in this interview, but I get it. Like, it's a very intimate thing, and you don't want to you got to release it when it's ready, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the last few questions, because I don't want to drag too long, but we've been discussing a lot. We've had this conversation now within Durban. It's been very active on the Sludge Underground Instagram, and a lot of people have different opinions on this, right? About the Durban music scene and whether or not, or rather what's slowing it down. Obviously, we put up a clip a while back where Yashna was saying one of the main reasons is drugs. They're slowing Durban down a lot, and this perception that that things only happen in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and also laziness is one of the things that she spoke about, that Durban creators are very lazy. What's your take on that there? Like, what's your take on Durban overall? Like, in general, do you feel like it's slow? If it is slow, what do you say is slowing Durban down, in your opinion?
Oh, it's quite a heated question. But I've been watching the debate on Sludge's Instagram, and it's a really good conversation to be having. But honestly, my perspective is the last couple years, specifically since we came out of COVID, I've seen a huge growth in Durban. The fact that we're having so many more gigs, and we're having so many gigs sometimes that we have to like chat to each other and be like, actually, can we not have so many gigs at the same time, because there's only so many people that can attend gigs, you know? And I think the main issue is, we see ourselves as this, small scene compared to Joburg and Cape Town. And I don't think we are necessarily. I think we have some incredible musicians here. We have some really great people that are organizing gigs and that are really passionate. We have some great sound men here. We have just such a lovely group of people in Durban. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic.
No, it's cool.
So I think we underestimate ourselves a lot of the time, and we do this thing where we compare ourselves and kind of undermine ourselves when we shouldn't be, and I think that leads to this issue where like Joburg bands and Cape Town bands come down to Durban and see us as like lower than them, and they'll pay us less, and we kind of perpetuate that cycle by seeing ourselves as these lower people when I don't think we are. And I think we're incredibly talented, and we should be proud of how far we've come after COVID, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in agreement with you. Like, a lot of, even last December, like a lot of the Joburg guys came down with France the Planets, and that whole thing was happening, and it was just incredible. So it really, I agree with you 100%. It's a really good take. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've covered, there's a whole lot more to cover, but at the same time, we also want to keep it enough so that people actually go out and they want to, check out some of the stuff that you're doing and all that there. So with that being said, I just want to thank you, Mandy, for
thank you so much.
This opportunity, getting me to come through and just have this conversation with you. Closing it out, what are your handles, and what are one of the best ways or best things that people can do to support you?
Well, at the moment, we have a lot happening with our bands, specifically Sons of Shem. So I'm in two bands, Sons of Shem and Saturn Return. And Sons of Shem is having a music video. Sorry, my mind is going blank. A music video launch. So if you want to check that out, it's really, really amazing. It's such a great video. Our friend Steve Lego, who actually lives up this side.
Nice. I didn't know he stayed up here.
Yeah, he lives in Howick or Hilton. Howick, I think. Yeah, and he filmed and edited everything, and he's so talented. And
Yeah.
we were just absolutely blown away by what he brought to that video. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
We also have an EP coming out for Sons of Shem. If you want to check us out on Spotify and Apple Music and all of the streaming channels. And then we have an album for Saturn Return coming out really, really soon.
So amped. I'm so
Yeah,
amped.
it's been so long and we've been waiting, not anybody's fault. It's just one of those things we want it to be perfect
Yeah.
before we release it. So
Yeah.
we think it is now.
Okay.
So it'll be coming out pretty soon. So you can check out Saturn Return and Sons of Shem on any streaming platforms for that. And then you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, all of those places. And if you want to follow me, I'm mandy.m.james on Instagram.
Sweet. Any closing words to anyone who supported your journey and just supported all the bands that you've been in before we close out?
Yeah, just thank you so much to everybody who's supported our bands, and to all of my band members who are just so incredible and have become like family. I couldn't have asked for better. And yeah, to everybody that supports the scene, we really appreciate it.
Shout out. And obviously for all things Sludge Underground, we've got our website, www.sludgeunderground.com. Until next time, it's been myself and Mandy. Fuck, I almost close out without the track. What track should we close out with, Mandy? Whether it be a Suns track, whether it be a Saturn track, which one should we end off with today?
I think it will be Sons of Shem, Green Flame. It's our most recent one that's going to be coming out really soon.
Sweet. So guys, do enjoy Green Flame by Sons of Shem. Until next time, it's bye for now.
Lit up a roll of chocolate. Destiny was a friend of mine. Revelation always came to the fool, puffing on the green flame. Lit up a roll of chocolate. Burning in my very perimeter. To see reality, conceive the flow of gravity. To see reality, feel the flow and delivery. Flame, green flame entwined, yeah. To the rhythm of it in my mind, yeah. Flame, green flame intertwined. To the rhythm of it in my mind, yeah. Lit up a roll of chocolate. Destiny was ahead of the times. Revelation always came to the full, puffing on the green flame. Lit up a roll of chocolate. Burning in my very perimeter. To see reality, conceive the flow of gravity. To see the reality, feel the flow. Green flame intertwined. Green flame. Jane.